This is the Echo Shadow Click fly reel, and it's my absolute favorite Echo fly reel. Stay tuned to find out why. If you've been watching our reviews of Echo reels, which we've done quite a few of recently, they're sort of a mixed bag. They've always provided a great value, but on the performance end, they've maybe lacked something here and there. This reel doesn't, and it's actually got some really unique features, which are very cool, and I'll get to those in a minute. And while this might not be the best looking fly reel out there from a performance perspective, this is a really complete package at an incredibly low price. And let's find out why by going through our 5 factors, starting with the drag. And as you might have guessed, this being the Shadow Click, it does not have a drag. It is a click pawl reel, and so there's not really much to talk about when it comes to drag. Unlike some click pawl reels, this reel doesn't even have an adjustment. There's one setting and one setting only, and it's what you get straight from the factory. You might think there is based on this knob, but this knob does something totally different and totally unique. But I'll get to that a little bit later. Up next is the spool, and this reel has a pretty great spool design, especially at this price. We've got a max diameter of 3.1 inches, a really nice narrow 0.97 inch width, and a 2.17 inch arbor. That all comes together for a retrieval rate of about 7.5 inches per turn. And we're reviewing the 4.5 size here, and 7.5 inches isn't absolutely massive, but for a really small feeling reel, it's pretty good. It's definitely a true large arbor, and it even beats out competitors like the Galvin Brookie, although only slightly. Overall, the performance on the spool is really good, and especially for a reel at this price point. In terms of backing capacity, Echo says it'll hold 125 yards at 20 pound with your weight forward 5 weight. We found that to be a little bit of an overstatement. We estimate it at closer to 75 yards with your weight forward 5 weight. But that said, that's going to be absolutely plenty for any trout fishing application. Up next is weight, and weight is one place this Shadow Click really shines. It weighs a mere 2.85 ounces, which makes it one of the lightest fly reels out there. It weighs less, although only slightly, than the Sage Click, which is a sort of similar concept in reels, but that reel costs 3 times as much. So you're really getting a super, super lightweight reel at a very lightweight price. This review is brought to you by Trident Travel, which is our new destination travel service where you'll get our expert advice, planning, and guidance at no additional cost. That means no credit card fees, no booking fees, and for a limited time, you'll even earn Trident rewards on your travel bookings. So with every trip you book, you'll be earning valuable points that you can use towards free tackle here at Trident. Recently, we've had some clients go on some absolutely fantastic trips like tarpon fishing in Belize, Atlantic salmon fishing in New Brunswick, and trout fishing in Alaska. So if you're thinking about taking a fly fishing trip, Trident Travel is the way to do it. We've got a ton of great destinations, excellent service, and even more destinations being added every month. Check us out at tridentflyfishing.com/travel. Up next is sound, and well, let's take a listen. As you can tell, it's got a really pleasant click, and it is slightly differentiated on the incoming and the outgoing. Honestly, this sounds better than pretty much every other Echo reel. And I'd say it's probably even about average, if not a little bit better, across all trout reels. It's what you'd expect from a nice clicker. And last but not least is Ergonomics. And while the ergonomics are not fantastic on this reel, they are totally fine. The handle is definitely a little bit on the smaller side. I'd like to see a bigger one. It's also got sort of a unique shape to it. It's very round here at the end, but I do think that shape does help the shorter handle stay in your hand. Of course, this is not a big game reel, so as long as you can grip it, you're probably okay. And it doesn't have a drag knob like we've already covered, but you might be wondering, what is this thing that looks just like a drag knob? And that is where you get one of the really interesting features on this Shadow Click. The design of the reel is extremely minimal. So when you pop out the spool, which is very easy to do with one click here, it reveals a frame that honestly looks a lot like the Nautilus X series, with one exception. If you decide to turn this drag knob looking thing, It loosens up the frame and allows you to change the position of this line keeper. And you might be asking yourself, why would anyone ever want to change the size and shape of your frame? Well, that's a good question. If you're doing your standard trout fishing, you probably will never change it. But the idea behind it is to be able to fish a super thin Euro nymphing running line with this Shadow Click, and probably with your Shadow X Euro rod, also from Echo. And so you've now got an ultra lightweight reel that has all the benefits of a full cage reel. So if you were to think about this reel as a full cage reel, this is the lightest full cage reel by far. Of course, it's not actually a full cage, it just has that enclosed bit there. But for a lot of practical uses, it does function just like a full cage. And last but not least is the price, and it is very reasonable. This Shadow Click comes in at $99, which is way on the low end of fly reels. It's also largely made of metal, which is great, and not something that you'd expect to see on a $99 fly reel. Honestly, as far as great values and great packages are concerned, this has got to be one of my favorites. It's the perfect entry-level trout reel, and it's also got excellent performance. So as long as you're not going for the biggest trout out there or trying to push this into ridiculous situations like using it in the salt, this reel can do pretty much everything. And while it's not my favorite looking reel, it does everything its much more expensive counterparts do, including weigh next to nothing. Let me know what you think about this Echo Shadow Click by leaving us a comment in the box below. And don't forget, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps us out, and you'll get notified every time we publish another great reel review. And don't forget, if you've got questions, we've got answers. Give us a call at 888-413-5211 or email us 24/7 at support@tridentflyfishing.com. I'm Ben. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.